Hello, Mrs. Galloway. My name is Kristen Williams. Welcome to Week 1 Journal, where I will be discussing equality and equity. So first, let's begin with equity. In terms of education, equity is an equal learning environment in which all students are given the resources that they need to be successful. It refers to the principle of fairness. And while what may be fair for one student may not necessarily be fair for another. So while students are given access to the same resources in a classroom with equity, it may look different and not appear equal, but it is because it's based off of student needs. Equality, on the other hand, so in education, equality means providing every student with the same resources to be successful, but in school, this will be equal in quantity, degree, value, rank, or ability. It is a blanket and it's equal no matter what and the same no matter what for all students, regardless of their specific needs. So equity and equality, while many people may use these words interchangeably, they actually have some key differences. One of the key differences is that equity takes the differences of students into consideration. And equity looks at things like socioeconomic status, language, gender, culture. So we're taking into consideration English language learners, students with special needs, disadvantaged students, students of all genders, and we're looking at these key differences when we are creating learning opportunities. But equality, a key difference is that it just levels the playing field. It creates equal learning opportunities regardless of all of these differences. And for this reason, a key difference is that equity promotes fairness while equality just promotes a level playing field. So when we look at this in the classroom, there's a few examples that are great strategies to use to promote these principles within the classroom. So the first being to actively engage students with open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are fantastic because they reach all learners. They help all students participate in class discussions. So you, as a teacher, might have to prepare a bit to include some well thought out open-ended questions in your lesson plan, but they are well worth the effort. It's important to give students some time to think after you ask these open-ended questions so that they have 30 seconds or so to formulate a response, and that way you're not just kind of putting your students on the spot. So after giving them some time to think and choosing a few students and allowing them to answer, you may or may not choose to then ask some follow-up questions to kind of help further the discussion and extend their thinking. Small group work is also great for promoting these practices. This is a great opportunity for students because it's oftentimes less intimidating than whole class instruction. A smaller environment means less eyes on the student. It can help them open up. And when you, as a teacher, assign tasks in small groups, you are ensuring that there's equal opportunity for all students to contribute. And you can also strategically group your students and take into consideration some of these differences we were discussing, such as their backgrounds and competencies. This can serve as a resource for their learning and your teaching. Visual aids are another great practice. You can start to figure out ways to use appropriate technology and different props to illustrate concepts and content for your students. This can be especially helpful for students that are like English language learners, so that they have some sort of visual aid to refer to help bridge that learning. And for students with special needs that might rely a little more on your visual aids. It's a great opportunity for teachers to use examples also that reflect the differences amongst their students, such as race, ethnicity, and their cultural backgrounds. So you can think about these things when you are preparing visual aids in your lesson plan. Equality and equity in mathematics. So in the math, during math, you can use different practices to ensure that equality and equity are present in your classroom. So I personally know that it is important for me to get to know my learners. If I don't know them and build rapport and have a trusting relationship with them, then I have nothing really. I need to know what kind of a home life my students have, what their language is in their household, and what are they bringing into my classroom mathematically, in their mathematic experiences before they get to me. And after I collect and figure out who I'm working with, then I can go to the next practice of differentiating my learning. I can use that information to create learning experiences that promote understanding. And then also just ensure again that all my students have equal access to resources. But again, just because they have equal access does not mean that it's equally distributed. Some students may need a little more support than others, and that's where equity comes in. And lastly, we are going to look at Common Core math standards. So the kindergarten standard that I chose to track the progression of was to represent addition and subtraction with objects, fingers, mental images, drawings, two sounds like such as clapping, and act out situations, verbal explanations, expressions, or equations. So in grade 1, this looks a little different. Not only are they using objects to represent addition and subtraction, now they are using addition and subtraction within 20 to actually solve word problems. In grade 2, they start to do the same, but within the number 100. And then grade 3, they start to interpret products of whole numbers. And in grade 4, they interpret a multiplication equation as a comparison. And then finally in grade 5, they start to incorporate parentheses and brackets or braces, and just numerical expressions, and evaluate those expressions within these symbols. So each grade, starting from representing addition, subtraction with objects and fingers, slowly progresses to solving equation and using different things such as symbols, such as parentheses, and it just gets more and more complex in each grade level. All right, that concludes my week 1 journal. Thank you and have a good day.